Essentially, since the day we started dating, my boyfriend has been trying to get me to become a biker. Bicyclist, not a motorcycle biker, that wouldn't be me. But he really enjoys it, was biking to and from work, was biking to and from the bar, biking really wherever you could go, and really thought that I would like that too. And I forever thought, no, I don't want to invest in a bike. That's your thing. I'll do some other outdoorsy things. So he took matters into his own hands and found me a bike. And I do mean find, as in outside on the sidewalk, abandoned in a rainstorm one day. And the bike had something wrong with its frame, like it had been in a car accident, perhaps. It didn't quite steer right when you wanted to go straight, or maybe it did steer right when you wanted to go straight. And it also had one brake, which had failed in some testing of one brake. But we were just going to get on the rail trail, very flat. I was going like 2 miles an hour anyway. And all it took was one ride, and I was a biking convert. So we got me a little bit of a safer bike. And all last fall, we started biking the rail trail. So we went through all these milestones that I was really proud of biking 3 miles, and then biking 3 miles and not stopping to complain that my butt hurt, and then biking 10 miles and 12 miles. And so we had gotten through the end of the fall. We're biking into December, which was unheard of, but I biked in pieces all of the rail trail here in York. So this spring, we decide we've biked the rail trail here in York, let's go over to Lancaster County. So they have a trail that starts in Columbia and follows the Susquehanna all the way up to Marietta. And it would be another milestone because the trail doesn't quite complete. You have to get off and ride the road in Marietta for a little bit. So it's going to be my first road riding too. So we get out and it's a Saturday, it's beautiful, there are a lot of families out, people walking their dogs, and we get on the trail and that's great, and we ride on the road and that's great. And we stop for a water break about 6 miles up. And we say, how far do we want to go today? And it looks like, according to the map on my phone, that the trail stops around mile 8, another section that hadn't quite been completed. And we say, we'll go up to mile 8, we'll turn around, 16 miles, that's a pretty good Saturday. So we get back on the bikes. And here's where I should mention that we started biking around 2. It was maybe 3:30. I was supposed to be back in York for dinner and an a cappella concert with a friend at 6. So the timing didn't quite enter my mind at this point, but we get back on the bikes and we're going to bike up to mile 8 and turn around. And get on the bike and start biking, and we're biking, and that's great, on the bike. And I start to think, we definitely biked 2 miles. Like, I don't have a little thing on my bike that tracks that, but it's definitely been 2 miles. And there's no end of the trail in sight. So we keep going and we keep going, and I think there's no end, there's no end. Eventually we're just gonna have to turn around. But you can't just turn around, you need a milestone or a mile marker, which have disappeared off of the trail. And eventually I hear from behind, boyfriend riding behind me says, we can just turn around whenever you'd like. And I say, okay. And we stop. And I communicate to him that it's like 4 o'clock and we've been biking for 2 hours and we have 2 hours left to bike home and I'm never gonna make it back in time for dinner. And he says, oh, don't worry about it, we'll just book it. And I say, okay. Because so far in our biking journey, he's been very gracious about going at my pace, which is a slow pace. And we stop and we take photos and look at the river. But now we're gonna book it. So we turn around and we get on the bike and we're go, go, go. And all these beautiful people with their beautiful families and their children and their dogs that like are on leash or are not on a leash are like these little obstacles in a Frogger game of navigating the trail to like, on your left, on your left. And the beautiful river trail that follows the Susquehanna is now just like some pavement in between clouds of gnats that are like in my throat and in my nose and in my eyes and stuck to my chest and all of my sweat. And we get to a section to stop and take a water break and hop off the bike. And without thinking at all, I raise my hands to my nose, and I blow my nose into my hands. And I fling my snot off to the right, and I realize, holy shit, I just blew my nose in my hands in front of my boyfriend. But there's nothing to do because there are still 5 more miles between us in the car. So we get back on the trail and do our little road riding, and then back on the trail and get back to the car, get back to the house, to shower, to get my car and get back to York. And I end up late to meet my friend for dinner and a cappella. So we try to leave a little more time in between bike rides and friend time at this point. But the real takeaway is for the gents in the room, which is if you're introducing your lady friend to a new hobby, even the best intentions cannot prevent snot rockets.